So I want to explain a little bit what's going on with our twins. I know I've said earlier, we're expecting twins. They're due August 16th, but they're planning to deliver at 37 weeks. So baby A is completely healthy. There really is nothing that looks wrong, but then baby B has some pretty severe complications. She has an umbilical, which is like her intestines and bladder and stomach are all forming in a sac on her outside her abdomen, and then her heart, the lower portion of her heart, is on the outside, and then she has scoliosis, and they think that's where all the other problems are originated. It's because she has a pretty severe scoliosis. She's leaning like to her left, and what that means, well, it was not as bad as they originally thought. They thought it was like a 90 degrees. It doesn't quite look that bad, but it's still very severe, and I think that is what caused all the other complications. Um, Her left lung is also a little bit smaller because of that curve. And then so this is pretty severe. We went to I'm from Southwest Missouri. We went to Kansas City to the hospital there for an appointment. Um, so because that's where they plan to deliver, so they can have the means to do what they need to do for baby B. And the doctors looked at everything, and then two of the doctors came in and like talked with us and said that it looks like what she showed us right there on ultrasound, that it looks like baby B's the umbilical. I don't know if that's the case or if that's the sac. I don't know if I'm using that correctly, but the sac right there is connected to the wall, and it looks like that. He said he's not for sure that is the case, but he said because of the way baby B it hasn't moved on their ultrasounds, it looks like that is connected to the wall, and what that would mean is it is no longer just a case of omphalocele, it is a case of limb-body wall complex. And what one of those doctors said is that they've never seen a baby survive that, and so we're looking at some pretty serious, um, some very serious time up in Kansas City, and uh, you know, and it's scary. Even with the umbilical, the other doctor said that um, with everything, it kind of looks like, it's like a 50-50. And he said, we want to pursue, oh, you know, like if as long as you guys want to keep going, we're gonna keep going, and obviously we do. And I really there's a lot going in the news right now about you know uh, abortion and all of that, and that had to be presented to us. I think I don't know if it I don't know, because they kind of, I remember early on our main specialist, he's like, what you could do is do a sacrifice, and we're like, no. No, he's like, okay. He's like, at this point, I really don't think. He's like, I wouldn't even recommend that. He's like, now if the baby was showing signs of um getting sick, is what he said. Just meaning like if it looks like it's not gonna make it, he's like, then you you might consider that. But even at that point, I don't think we would. Um, like because it's we don't want to kill our child. Um, but with the complications right now, and obviously we want to protect both children, and so but right now like that shouldn't even be an option in my opinion right now, because um, baby B is acting healthy. She's doing good, um, other than all of the complications. But despite those complications, she's kicking, she's moving, um, she's responding like a normal child. But she just has some pretty severe issues. And I put out a Facebook post on, to my friends on Facebook, and there was a lot of family and church people that responded, and I pretty much said it's going to be one of three things. Is one, um, we know God is a healer, and I've heard of other cases where, you know the baby comes and there's nothing wrong, and or they check an ultrasound later and there's nothing wrong. We had one friend specifically that I'm thinking of that had her baby had the umbilical complications and early on, and then they went and looked again and it wasn't there, and um, God healed the baby, and so we know that's the case, or that can be the case, and that's what we're really wanting and praying for. But the second possibility is, God uses these doctors and these surgeons, and our baby, has some complications, but then makes it out okay. And and even with all the surgeries and everything, with everything right now, she's gonna have scoliosis for a long time with everything right now, and uh, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be, but if that's what God wants to do, that's what we'll do. But we know that the third possibility is that um, God could let our baby pass, and we don't want that, obviously. But we know even in the face of that, we're still holding on strong. And I mean, there's been a lot of people that have gone through a lot of things, and they've made it out. And we know that whatever the Lord does, we can still continue to serve Him. And our whole one of our prayers during this time was that He would just make us a testimony. And uh, I truly believe that He wants to make us a testimony. And I don't know if that's to what extent. I don't know if that's uh, through a death, or I don't know if that's through a miracle. And but we're glad and we're excited. Uh, we are excited for our twins to be here, and we're nervous. But we're ready to hold them, and we know it's a big possibility that it'll be a long NICU journey, and but we'd rather have that than the worst. But if it is the worst, then we know who our Creator is. We know who we serve, and like I said, we want to be a testimony. And I don't plan on saying this, but and I haven't told anybody this. The only person that knows this is my wife as of right now. I mean, um, maybe I'll tell somebody, but we were there. And but seeing as this channel, it's not my friends and family right now. Maybe later, but we were there. At the hospital with those doctors. And when that doctor came in, I thought, I was like, I need to pray. Like I need to pray. And I almost thought about it before he did the ultrasound. And I don't know if I should have or what. Like I kind of felt like I needed to, but then but whatever the case, he did the ultrasound again, showed us how it might be the limb body wall complex. And then at the end, um, I, they asked us if we had any questions or anything, and throughout, and he went through all the things he had to say. And then once he got towards the end, I said, I said something along the lines of, we see what we know. We know what our possibilities are. We know what the doctors, um, what you guys see and what you guys can do. But I know but I know the one who can do all things. I know the one who sees all things. We don't see what the correct answer is, because like even with the heart, they don't know if they can even put it back in uh, correctly, because they don't know if there's enough space, because she's been growing without it in there for so long. Same thing with the umbilical, and but I'm like I said, God is able. We know that He's a miracle worker, and I said that because I felt like it. And then the doctor said something, said, we want the best, we want the, and then he's like, yeah, we want the, and then I just felt like praying, and I did. And this doctor, who I'm fairly certain is not one of the doctors, I don't know about the other one, but this other doctor, he just the way he talked and everything, I'm fairly certain he wasn't a Christian. um and he at the, at the end, um after I prayed, and I just prayed a simple prayer. It really wasn't anything much. I just said, Lord, whatever you do, we want to thank you. And um I pray that you bless these doctors and everything. And I'm not like that was a little tough to do. But I felt like doing that. And I've had other opportunities in like church services where I I feel like the Spirit has prompted me, and it always worked out. When I did it, it always worked out for the better, or at least it didn't harm anything, and it helped me. And so I was just like, that's what I'm going to do. And at the end, that doctor, he said, He's like, that was lovely. Um, and I think at that moment they realized that we weren't, because they were very like that doctor was the one that was very much, if you need any help, if you need any social services, it's a hard thing. And I don't, I think at that point, and my wife said it too later. It was like that showed them that we're not like in despair because of what's going on. Like we're we're worried. Trust me, we are worried, but we're praying, and we have such an overwhelming um, support from our church family and from the people around us that really as terrible of a thing as it is, like I don't know how other people make it through these things because I have plenty of help. I have plenty of support. And I know there's people that go through these things and they don't have any of that. And it's truly but only by the grace of God that I think they make it through this. Especially people that don't serve Christ at all. It's like I still know that God is helping them through these things. Like I was talking to somebody, and I go to jail sometimes on Thursdays, and I help some older men preach uh, to the men in the jails. And uh, there's one guy in there. He's doing good. He's been doing his Bible studies and everything, and he even. But he was talking about, like, he asked me how my twins were doing, and I let him know what they said up in Kansas City, and he was like, "Okay, well, I'll be praying." He's like, it's tough. He's like, my first child was 7 months when he was stillborn, and it's like I don't know how people make it, because at that point, I don't know if he was raised a Christian or what, but I, from the sounds of it, he wasn't serving God back when that happened. If I recall correctly, I might be mistaken, but it's just like I don't know how people make it without the Lord. And but me and my wife, despite the worries, we have a peace, knowing that it's all in His hands, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I do know that um, the Lord, He's maker of it all. And one of our biggest wants and prayers is that all of our children will make it to the right side of eternity. And it's one thing that's had comfort for me was, even if she does pass, that prayer is answered. That prayer is answered. And I just want to, you know, I'm thankful um, that the Lord sees us, and I'm thankful. And if you've watched this whole thing, I hope that helps you. But if it doesn't, just pray for us and the next season. And I know God is able to do whatever He wants. And they want to have an MRI. And one of my biggest prayers is that at the MRI, it's here in a few weeks because they want to see entirely what's going on. A better look if it is the limb body wall complex and whatnot. And I really do pray that, you know, if you're going to heal, and I know He can do it right up to the moment of birth. I know He could even do it after birth. I know. But like that's the one where I'm like, Lord, because we have the MRI, and then the next day we have a round table with all the doctors that will be helping us and working with us, and just like, Lord, make your glory known. And that's what I want. And obviously I want my baby girl to survive. And um but I know most of all what's more important is His glory. And I want whatever He wants, and if that's a miracle, or if that's making us a Job figure, and I don't want to go through that, but I do know He is able. And thank you for listening.